Bruce becomes a boy wonder. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Dark Father Wave Robin King. Out of the most sinister corner of the dark multiverse comes the Robin King, a young version of Bruce Wayne who's chosen an unexpected, horrific path to follow. Rather than becoming Batman, this troubled Bruce embraced his inner darkness at a very young age, donning his own Robin costume and devoting his life to evil. His utility belt is filled to the brim with weapons designed to defeat every hero in the DC multiverse, making Robin King the most sadistic soldier in the Batman Who Laughs evil army. What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, evil Robin. I thought you would have said a doctor. Before we get a closer look at Robin King, the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall the figure actually stands. I suppose I probably should go beyond the point of his head, right? Because he's kind of got that crown on top of his head. Maybe take that. We'll take that. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. Stopping the tape measure right there, Robin King stands 6.5 or 6.5 inches in height. We can switch that over to centimeters, revealing that the figure is 16.7, so it's a little over 16.5 centimeters tall. Bringing in a couple of figures for some size comparisons. Starting first, there's the Batman Who Laughs. I also wanted to bring in this Robin here, because you'll see, at least from the torso standpoint, there's going to be some carryover of molds from one to the other. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I also wanted to bring in Death of a Family Nightwing, because I'm really liking this figure. And also, I wanted to bring in one of the 3 Robins, which I've currently got on a display stand because this particular Robin has some difficulty standing. Quite the nightmarish bunch, really, when you look at all of them, but it kind of gives you a good, at least, idea of how Robin King stacks up with other Robins and other characters from the DC Multiverse as well. Of course, Robin King also is the first figure that we're going to be looking at starting our reviews of the Dark Father wave. With that, of course, we will be putting together Dark Father, and I'm looking forward to getting that figure put together. Starting first, Robin, as it seems to be always the case, I start with usually the torso. Robin King here comes with the torso piece for Dark Father. Though it's really kind of hard to gauge what this figure is going to be looking like, just simply because we're looking at a stump right now. At least it does have some nice detailing. I really like the way that the emblem looks there on his chest. Again, we still need a head, arms, legs. There's still some progress that should be made, but starting just with only the stump and the stump alone to be looking at, he's got some really nice colors. I also like the utility belt there as well. So we're going to put that to the side, keep that for safekeeping. Let's have a look at the other accessories that come included with Robin King. He comes included with a trading card. A pattern that has now started to form is that with the trading cards, we're getting actually images of the figures, not rather images from the source material. Again, I'm not really sure why. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because I always feel like in every one of these reviews that I whip out the card like this. I always seem to go to this point and I feel like spend too much time talking about it. I mean, I would much rather a trading card that would actually have the artwork pulled from the pages that actually would have had Robin King. An action figure is fine and good, but it just ultimately results in its action figure photography. And it's not really what I would want to see on a trading card. Flip this around and you got your stats listed on the back. The real name is Bruce Wayne. The height is 5'6", correction there, and a weight is 84 pounds, along with a read-up that you can either pause the video or just backtrack to the beginning of this review where I actually read this off at the beginning intro. We're going to put the trading card here to the side. Yeah, a little disappointed on those trading cards lately. Robin King also comes included with a display stand. Just a basic black display stand that seems to have some sort of flecks of something all over it. You can see there's got the DC logo down below there. And it's also got the singular peg point up the top corner. We have certainly seen these stands before, so again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, just muchos gracias, the fact that they actually include display stands with their figures. As for the rest of the things that come include with Robin King, I'm kind of sad to report he doesn't come include with any weapons, anything that you can have held in his hand. And yet, really, the tease of it all is when you look at the other swappable hands made available here, he comes with a closed fist that seems to almost have a hole just big enough that maybe could hold a batarang. And he also comes with a very deliberately sculpted hand that looks like it should be holding a gun. And yet, no other accessories come included with this figure. Isn't that a bit strange? Don't you think a figure like this, especially being the fact that they're teasing a hand like this, you'd think, if anything, it probably should include a weapon. But sadly, that's not the case. If you do want to change his hands out, although just between you and me and the rest of the 4 people watching this, I kind of like these hands as is. Stock hands, as they would say. These ones have some good clawing hands, but I suppose if you do want to change out the hands, all you have to do is just grab the forearm here, wiggle it off the peg, and replace it with the hand that you want to go with. While you're doing this, though, one observation I certainly want to make, not so much from seeing it, but feeling it. What's he talking about here? Let me just first get this on the peg. It's being very, very stubborn right now. While I am doing this, I want to just draw everyone's attention to my poor punctured finger. Luckily, at least no blood has been drawn, but these spikes that stick out from the sides of his gauntlet are so pointy that I really don't like having to change out the hands. Maybe that's one of the other reasons why I may want to just stick with the stock hands for the time being. Oh, my poor finger. Let's go ahead and actually, you know what? I'm gonna remove the hand. I just, because he doesn't come with any accessories other than the trading card and other, of course, Dark Father, I'm really going to go with these hands instead. Just, that's my own personal preference. Ugh, my poor finger. Anyways, nobody cares about the finger. Let's get a closer look at Robin King. Maybe some of you will. Certainly when it comes to this figure, I'm really liking with how this one turned out. And why I'm freeing up a little bit of space and moving this guy over is only just to bring in the original Robin, so we can do some comparisons and talk a little bit about the same molds that were used from one figure to the other. It's not on everything, and I do think that there were maybe some retools that may have been done here. The torso piece seems pretty stock. I don't think they've changed anything from one figure to the other. The brighter colors, of course, are gone on the Robin King torso, now favoring all black instead. The yellow, of course, as you can see, strapped on the side of Robin's torso, have gone away completely in favor, again, all black. The utility belts also seem to be the same also. Again, you've got the more darker yellow here. This is yellow if somebody accidentally doesn't wash out their paintbrush and then dips it immediately into the yellow. This is kind of like the muddy-looking yellow that we get as a result of it. But it does seem like they are the same. The skirting also seems to be the same between the two figures. I do think there is a slight change in mold when it comes to the arms, specifically the bicep area. It could also just be the paint, but it seems like the meshing on the biceps seemed to stand out a little bit better on the Robin King than the original Robin. Similarities also come when you look at the lower legs. From basically like the utility belt, I guess you really could say from like the neck all the way down to the boots, it's the same figure, with the boots being the real drastic change. They're not the exact same boots when you look at the two side to side. Of course, even though one is Bruce and one isn't, both the figures stack up to be roughly around the same size to one another. Even though it's not likely going to be the way I'm going to put these on display. This guy I'm going to probably put along with my Batman Who Laughs. The Robin here I'm probably going to display with the Batman. But again, like I said, they're pretty much the same figures, just with a few little tweaks here and there. Okay, go away, Robin, go away. Getting a closer look at his head sculpt here. I don't know if it's just the fact I like Kiss, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of a member of Kiss. Maybe it's one of those members that Gene Simmons just didn't agree along with, and as a result, he was kind of axed pretty early into the career. It does have a very demon look to it. I love the fact also that they've given him an open mouth. This is not something you see too often on figures. And when they do expression faces like this, boy, do I ever soak that up. I love expressions on figures' faces. Because generally, you know, you could get just a closed mouth. And how exciting really is that? Robin King, on the contrast to that, does have a lot more going on for his face. The visible teeth, the tongue inside. Yeah, again, doesn't this look like somebody that should belong in a member of, like, as a member of Kiss? Maybe he's, I don't know, a secondary drummer in the background, or maybe he plays the keyboard. Anyways, the detailing on this figure is rather nice. He's got the chainmail collar piece, like the hooded piece that goes on top of him. And of course, on top of that, he's got himself his crown. Now, this is all done in softer plastic. I don't know if you're somebody that picks up your figures and runs around with them and happens to land on this. You don't have to worry that these are a little bit more softer plastic. I guess you could probably call this a cowl, a chainmail cowl. That's the word I was looking for. It's a softer plastic. It does limit a little bit when you move the figures back and forth, for certainly when we look at the head articulation, but at least it's soft enough that it's not rigid plastic. So there's a little bit more give than I was hoping, than what I was expecting to get. I also really like this. the shoulder piece that stretches across from the entire figure. All these little feathers are painted so nicely, kind of in an off-green color with little tips done in purple. Boy, does that ever look super sharp. Speaking of super sharp again, stay away from these points if you can. Some nice sculpting on them, but yeah, they are awfully prickly, especially when you have to go and change the hands out. I'm not likely going to be changing the hands because, again, I like the idea that he's got the sharp claws going on like this. As for the back of the figure, the carryover of that dark, dingy yellow finds its way also onto his cape as well. I don't know if the intended plan is this, but it doesn't kind of look like he's been sitting on his cape and it's got all these little wrinkles across it. I like that it has the natural drape sculpted into it, but yeah, it does kind of look like he probably should have taken an iron and ironed out his cape a little bit. This, by the way, is more of a denser plastic. It's got a little bit of give to it, but not a whole lot, though. It's just strange to see all these little wrinkles on the back of it. Of course, we can also flip the cape up so you can see the back of it. That's the lower skirting, of course, of it. A lot of just black plastic. There's sure a little bit of color going in there, but like the majority of the figure, really, when you're looking at him, it's just molded plastic. Like the arms, for example, are probably their own green color. The torso piece, of course, and the lower legs are all black plastic, so it's really only just a little bit of paint that's happening here. I would imagine even just like the shoulder piece here as well is probably all the dark plastic. So paint is very minimal on this guy, and for the most part, it's not too bad. There's a few little problems, like, yeah, the art isn't the cleanest art around. I mean, it could really be a lot worse, but yeah, there's a little bit of the yellow that's made its way off to the edges there. But overall, I really, really like this figure, and I really, really like this head sculpt as well. Let's now have a look at the posability for Robin King. So as I already mentioned, his chainmail cowl, because it's a softer plastic, and you know, by the way, I didn't even flip this up to show you guys inside. There's more of the continuation of the demon face paint, but there's also ears. How about that? Very nice. But you can rotate his head all the way around. Being that they've used that softer plastic for the chainmail cowl, it means that there is a lot more give than if they, of course, obviously use the denser plastic. You can also rock the head back and forth. For obvious reasons, I don't have to worry about pricking myself on these because, again, they're softer plastic. For his arms hinge out. There we go. And you can also bring them forward. You can bring them back. All the same stuff that the original Robin had. Swivel on the bicep. Double hinge on the elbow. He has the articulation in the hand, which you can rotate those all the way around and hinge them also back and forth. For his upper torso, this is like the Robin, very limited, just because encased inside of all this is an overlay of softer plastic. He should, in theory, have a crunch in his torso, but unfortunately there's really very little that you can actually do with it. His legs split out, fine and good, and the skirting is softer plastic too, so it does allow you for the hinging of the legs out like this. You can bring the legs forward and back, fine and good. Swivel at the top of the thigh. He has a double hinge on the knee. There's one, there's the second one, actually popping the leg off. One of the issues I actually have, and boy, that was coincidentally timed perfectly. If you are moving the legs, for example, sometimes periodically, and it happened more so with my other Robin, the legs are known for popping off like this. Boy, that was timed perfectly. But so be careful, yeah. If it does happen to pop off like it just did for me, I'm just pop it back onto the ball joint. Anyways, though, he does have the single, I said double hinge. He actually only has a single hinge on the knee. He doesn't have any rotation further down on the boot, but I guess technically he rotates just a little bit where that hinge joint is. The feet, the tops of the boots, the feet part of the boots, there you go. You can also move those back and forth. He has an ankle pivot back and forth this way. And he does also have toe articulation. How about that? Toe articulation on Robin King. The only thing that kind of sets this guy back is just only by a little bit, is the fact he doesn't come included with any accessories. Sure, we're fine teased by the idea that he comes with a swappable hand that really looks like he should be holding something. And unfortunately, he doesn't. He doesn't come with anything. I guess I probably could go to my tickle trunk and see if I could find like a gun, a sword, something. I could even really pillage the sword that came included with the Robin and use that for Robin King. Because again, I kind of feel like he should have had something. If you're going to throw the tease in there of giving us swappable hands that are clearly designated for something and then not to deliver with an accessory, I say boo. I say boo you. But still, it makes for a really nice looking figure with or without the accessories that he didn't come included with. Even though Robin King uses so much of that original Robin mold, I end up liking this figure a lot more. The original Robin at least benefited from all the time that they put into sculpting out the costume. Shows a lot better with the brighter colors. You get a lot more of that lost here with Robin King because his costume is just so dark and black. But it does translate to a nicer looking figure with a much superior looking head sculpt. If you weren't so crazy that the other Robin had just that little line for his lip, I mean, this one does benefit from having the more open mouth, which I really like to see more on figures. Just the neutral head sculpt is fine and good for some, but you really don't want an entire line just to have that. I mean, when we looked at the Batman Who Laughs version 2, one of the things I really commended for that figure was the fact that he did have the open mouth. You could really see his slimy, gnarly-looking teeth. Robin doesn't have gnarly-looking teeth, not that I can see at least, but the open mouth definitely does elevate this figure to like that next level awesome. What isn't so awesome is the fact he doesn't come included with any other accessories, other than short just the Dark Father torso, which we're going to have to kind of continue that journey. He doesn't come with anything else. He comes with a display stand, sure, and he comes with a trading card, yeah, but those are things you normally expect to get the DC Multiverse figures. For them to tease that he does have a gripping hand, specifically with a hand that looks like it holds a trigger, and not to get anything to fit into his hand, I say blasphemy. That's blasphemy. Anyways, though, I still love this figure. Just kind of wish he could have come include some other accessories other than just the Dark Father torso. Unless he can use the Dark Father torso as a gun, pew pew pew. I don't think that's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to have to see if I can find something to put in his hand. But I really do like the look of Robin King, taking so much of that original Robin mold, and I think again making it better. And that's what it's all about, taking those existing molds and not just coming up with the same thing again, but to do something different with it. And I will say Robin King is very much different. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys are also new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And also, yes, turn the bell notification on and keep your peepers peeled to this channel, because we will be looking at the rest of the Dark Father wave as we continue on with the rest of the 3 figures. And slowly and surely, we will be building ourselves the Dark Father wave. Just don't call me Shirley. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.